Welcome to the Your City Podcast, where we get to know our neighbors so that we can be good neighbors. I'm your host, Aaron Williams, and today, before we get to our guests, we're going to say a thank you to our sponsor. Our sponsor for today is Polymathic. Polymathic is focused on promoting community and local living. If you'd like to work with them on these goals, reach out with an email to contact@polymathic.company. Today, I'm joined by Robbie Lee, who is the Public Relations Director for the Exceptional Foundation, a local nonprofit here in Homewood. We're going to talk to him about what the foundation does, their history, and how he got involved. Robbie, thank you for coming on to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with the Exceptional Foundation. What is the Exceptional Foundation?
So the Exceptional Foundation is a nonprofit organization that really seeks to provide a full range of life experiences for children and adults with intellectual disabilities. Our primary objectives are social and recreational, and our really main objective is to provide a safe, accepting environment where people with intellectual disabilities can make friends and be a part of their community and really get to do a lot of the fun things that some of us take for granted.
Yeah. What does full range mean?
Oh gosh, just everything between, the full range is really encompasses, just think of anything that you like to do for fun. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of range of fun experiences we're trying to offer our participants. So whether it involves sports or art or travel, really anything that fits into that little network is what we're trying to do.
So you guys do things like field trips when you said travel?
We take lots of field trips. We've gone to Las Vegas, we've gone to Reno, we've got a group going to Orlando this summer.
Yeah.
So we take field trips near and far.
So when you're doing a field trip like that, are you taking the youth or the kids that are doing it, or is that more for the adults?
It depends. So everyone takes field trips, children and adults. Some of our field trips are specifically sports related. So we have competitive athletic teams that might take, like the Reno, Las Vegas trips, for example, were bowling trips. The Orlando trip is going to be for our volleyball team. Most of the field trips for our kids are going to be in and around Birmingham, McWane Center, Birmingham Zoo, things like that.
Easy for stuff for parents to be involved, and they don't got to plan a trip out of town and stuff.
Right, and we want them to be field trips that are impactful, whether they be educational or, providing our guys with an opportunity that might, not otherwise be available. But we take a lot of field trips, and just in our 8-week summer camp, we take about 150 field trips during that 8 weeks.
Geez, in one season? That's like a field trip every day.
We take multiple field trips every day.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. So how many people are working at the Exceptional Foundation to make something like that a reality?
There's usually about 30 of us, some part-time, most full-time.
Okay, cool. So when you said there was a sports league, you said it was bowling. Now, are there other sports that y'all do, or is bowling the primary one?
Yeah, so we sports are a big part of just like our daily programs for all of our groups to participate in. But we also have recreational leagues, like a traditional youth rec league. So we have a basketball league for elementary age children. We have a basketball league for teenagers, and we have an adult league. We also have competitive leagues where we take like the 10 to 20 best athletes, and we compete amongst municipalities around Alabama. For example, if we're good enough, we'll get chosen. Might get chosen to go to National Special Olympics like we did this year for volleyball. So we play for fun, but we also play for keeps too.
That's cool. That's really awesome that you guys are doing that. Are there a lot of places that are doing this type of stuff for special needs sports? So are there a lot of leagues that y'all can get involved in?
So our leagues are a little unique. We're really inclusive. There's a lot of places where, just based on what people have capacity-wise, maybe the 10 or 15 best athletes in that city get to play. Whereas our rec league for basketball, we have 75 people participating. So we have people of all skill levels. Now, again, we're going to take the 15, 20 best people from that group and, play competitively, around the state. But we definitely try to have, a real welcoming, open athletic environment where anyone can participate at some level.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's why we exist.
I mean, that sounds like it would provide so much value to people in that category that would never get that type of experience.
Yeah, and it's really inspirational now. Just all all the Miracle League fields that have popped up all around Greater Birmingham. It's fantastic, and there are many more opportunities than there were when we got started in the '90s, and it's really cool to see.
Yeah.
There's really, I feel like there's something for everyone.
So you got started 1993.
Yeah, so the program officially got started in 1993. Our building was dedicated in 1999. So there was about a 6-year period where we were affiliated with the Homewood Park and Rec Department, and then kind of outgrew our space and needed our own just separate facility.
So how did this get started? Where did this vision and this passion for this come from?
It really came from a group of parents that were really brave and were determined to have a future for their children with intellectual disabilities. In 1993, there just weren't obviously a whole lot of opportunities post high school for these guys to have a social life and engage with their peers and, again, get to do a lot of the fun things that you and I might enjoy in our spare time. And so what started really as kind of a pickup basketball after school and, little things like that snowballed in the best possible way into what was clearly a much larger need in our area, and grew to where, we now have a 32,000 square foot facility and 3 other exceptional foundations in the Southeast. So it was really cool that a little tiny seed got planted in Homewood in the 90s and has really spread all these roots.
Are those families still involved today?
They are. I got to give a shout out to Charlie Jordan, who was a part of the Exceptional Foundation getting off the ground and still is on our board of directors today. His son Andy still participates and is going to Orlando with our volleyball team this summer. Jim Ward is another person who his son Merrill is still with us every day, and Jim's out there pitching for our softball league on Saturdays, and it's the kind of cause that once you get involved with it, regardless of what your buy-in is, it's contagious.
Yeah. What kind of special needs does the Exceptional Foundation focus on? So when these families got started, did they have kind of like a range of areas that they wanted to focus on? I know you said you wanted to be inclusive.
Yeah, so we serve a broad range of diagnoses. Primarily, our participants have either Down syndrome or autism. There's some comorbidity where there's some people that have autism and Down syndrome. But we serve people with Williams syndrome and Fragile X syndrome, and just kind of general developmental delays and disabilities. It's this big, I hesitate to call it a melting pot. It's more like a mixed salad, of just people, and we accept people for who they are on those terms, and it's really exciting.
How does something like that change as they get older? Because obviously you are working with people from the time that they're youth, and like you said, until now they're in their adult lives. How do those challenges evolve over time? It's
interesting, so I've been there long enough to see, 5-year-olds that are now, teenagers getting ready to leave high school. It more often than not, it's just really special to see these guys grow and develop and mature and form relationships. But so we have 4 groups of adults during the day, and they're grouped by their interest and activity level. And, sometimes, maybe if somebody, when they first started, was super active and wanted to play sports all day long, they might be in our yellow group. And maybe as they get older and they're kind of geared for more, arts activities or sports that are modified in some way, they might be a better fit for our orange group down the road. We really have an environment that's welcoming to people, whatever their interest or activity level is.
So you have these different groups by color, and that's just kind of like a category of activities that you guys are using to sort of, hey, you're going to belong to this and you're going to do their activities. So it's kind of like a class.
So the way it works is we have 4 groups, and when people do an intake interview, we basically ask them, what do you like to do? And usually based on those responses, we kind of have an idea of where they would thrive the best. Our green group tends to be older. We do more modified activities with them. Like if we do a gym game, we'll probably adapt it in some way so it's a little, less impact. But when you kind of climb up to our yellow group, tend to be younger, high activity level. They want to play dodgeball, kickball, every single day, all day long. And our two groups in the middle are kind of a mix, but each group is kind of its own animal each day. You know, we have people that come 1 day a week or come 4 days a week, and each group is kind of a different mix each day. And it's just kind of fun to watch the workings and the personalities and how everything clicks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you've got all these different groups, and people come to you. How do you guys find members? Is that what y'all refer to them as?
We refer to them as participants.
Participants.
So via a variety of ways. There's a lot of word of mouth. We actively recruit at exit fairs for people who are aging out of high school, transition fairs, sorry. But we really do our best to leave no stone unturned. We love going to, Jefferson County hosts a high school basketball tournament every year. And one of my favorite things is going to that tournament and just telling these kids who think they might be playing their last basketball game that, no, we've got you covered. So we really try to get in the schools as much as we can to just make sure that parents and teachers know what their options are. But a lot of times people come to us. We field calls all day long from people that are interested in our program.
How do the parents respond when they find something like this?
Well, especially if it's kind of news to them that we exist. It's really cool. I had a call a few years ago from a parent whose son had been the team manager for the Oak Mountain basketball team, and basketball had really become this kid's life. And his parents were really concerned that once high school ended, that basketball was kind of going to be taken away from him. And I'll never forget telling his father over the phone that, we've got a Saturday rec league, we've got a competitive travel team, we've got you guys covered. And that kid's gone on to thrive in our basketball league. He's helped us win gold medals. That's one of those moments that really stands out. It's just kind of a cool moment where you got to tell somebody there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's not over.
Yeah, because there's so much infrastructure around students and around kids and around getting them to a certain point, and then there's an expectation in our culture of like, all right, we did the work and we got you to where you're at, you take over. But for people in this category, that's a big challenge for them to do by themselves, and they really need that infrastructure to kind of remain for them, right?
Yeah. And, society has really grown in leaps and bounds as far as offering employment opportunities to the people we serve. But, quite frankly, there's never going to be enough employment opportunities for this population. So services that we provide are imperative. They're vital. And it's one of those things that, again, it's just easy to take for granted that you can just go to the movies when you want to go to the movies, or you can go, to the mall and meet people and do things like that. And these guys don't really have that opportunity. When our participants are with us, it's usually the only time of the day or the week that they're away from their parent or caregiver. And as anyone knows, growing up, whether you're 12 or you're 20 or 25, you don't want to be with your mom and dad all day long every day. You want your free time. You want some time to hang with the boys or hang with the girls. And those are the opportunities that we're giving our guys to kind of really kind of spread their wings and kind of be their best selves.
That's cool. I think that's awesome. What are some of the biggest struggles of interacting with people who fall into this category of special needs? What are some of the challenges that you guys face on a day-to-day basis to kind of keep everything moving in the direction that you've been describing?
There's always going to be some behavioral challenges from time to time. We have a really good group of staff with a pretty diverse range of backgrounds from psychology and education. We are trained, and we're going to use that training when we need it. But fortunately, we've got such a good group, and really the challenges are just for us really just finding new ways to entertain our participants and keep it fresh.
Yeah.
And, make sure that we're not getting complacent and that no one's getting bored.
What's the approach to coming up with a curriculum that you guys feel like will be successful?
So our vice president of programming, Jenny Bastar, has been with us for 20 years, maybe longer. She is fantastic when it comes to programming, and researching new games and field trips and just ideas. We're always looking to change things up, and there are certain things that are set in stone. We go bowling every week. That is etched in granite. We do karaoke every Wednesday, but we're lucky to live in a big enough city that there's so many different. There's always new opportunities for field trips and engagement. Vendors that come into our building, and whether they're educational or just fun, we really just try to keep our ear to the ground of what's going on in town and what new things are coming up. Computers, and there's a lot of technology that's such a big part of our program that 10, 15 years ago was virtually non-existent. So we change with the times, and we try to change with our participants and their interests and what their likes and wishes are. Keep it fresh for everybody.
Yeah, you recently had a change of presidents, right? So what was that transition like, and how did you guys sort of make sure that the incoming president was going to be onboarded, and how did you guys make that process a success?
Well, we're really fortunate to have just a great board of directors. The board of directors was instrumental in that whole process, and just making sure we found the right fit once Tricia Kirk left us, who had been with us for 20 years. Great leadership, and we found Sarah Newell, who had a background with United Way and fundraising, and with United Cerebral Palsy, which is now United Ability. She worked with them in New York and California, so she has some pretty big time experience. And I have to say, it's been pretty seamless. We never missed a beat. And again, I've got to give an assist to our board of directors on that. They really were intentional about the process and ensured that we found the best person, and that we're on a path for future success.
Who directs the vision of where you guys are going? I assume that there's a lot of this that's kind of like, hey, we just need to be able to maintain capacity, and we want to keep what we have alive, right? But there is, like you said, new stuff comes in. You guys are keeping your ear to the ground. How are you guys? The president coming in and stuff like that. Who's directing the vision of where the Exceptional Foundation is going to put future effort?
Definitely, Sarah, our new president, is really process oriented as far as our administration and just how things are done, from bookkeeping to technology and just building upgrades and things like that. And then when we come to programming, the day-to-day activities we're doing with our participants, again, it's Jenny and our team of program staff that we all work in concert. It takes a village to do what we do. And, we're a democracy. All thoughts are welcome, and input is appreciated. And whether you've been on the job for a day or 10 years, everyone's input is valued. And we have a pretty democratic process of meeting once a week and throwing ideas out there. And we'll try anything once, and if it doesn't work, we can either scrap it or we can modify it in some way. But our participants and their kind of lust for life really make it all pretty easy. As long as we're not passing out worksheets and just busy work, which we've never done and will never do, we're going to have something fun up our sleeves.
Yeah, this seems like a job where you would have to be very passionate about it and very engaged with it. It seems like it would be a job that would be hard to fall into a routine.
Yeah, no 2 days at the Exceptional Foundation are the same. Every day is unique, and that's part of what just makes it so fun. Is you might know you're going to go on this field trip and do this activity, but you don't know what's going to happen on the field trip. It could be something really funny and shocking, or just you never know. These guys keep us on our toes, and we try to keep them on their toes too.
Well, how do you deal with I assume emergencies come up.
Sure.
How do you deal with that?
On an individual basis, we have we have quite a few participants that have epilepsy, and so we're all trained in seizure protocol and what we need to do in those situations. So it depends on the scenario. we try to, safety is obviously at the forefront of anything that we do, whether,
sure.
we're doing a game of bingo or whether we're playing basketball. Safety is number one and will always be number one.
So you said that there were multiple exceptional foundations in the Southeast. Are they all in Alabama?
So there are 3 in Alabama. There's ours, obviously, in Homewood. There is an exceptional foundation in Auburn, in Daphne, and there is one in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay, so there's 4 total. Are y'all all just independent organizations, or are y'all coordinating to do stuff together?
So each exceptional foundation is its own 501c3, and basically they have to follow our policies and procedures, our bylaws. Other than that, we coordinate a beach trip with our group down in Daphne once a year, and we'll see them in sports tournaments from time to time, which is always interesting when we have to play another exceptional foundation. That's just always bizarre. But we have a monthly conference call with the leaders of those organizations and discuss fundraising and programming and just really anything you can think of. But it's been really cool to see just all these, any city of any size needs something like the Exceptional Foundation, and it's been really cool to see these cities get this kind of infrastructure in place to be able to serve the population, and they're all thriving. It's really cool.
That's great. So they're all kind of independently operated, but there's a lot of communication going in between all of them to sort of make sure that the experiences are to the quality that y'all are trying to achieve.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. And you guys also do events here locally in Homewood. I know about the chili cook-off. Are there other events that you guys do?
Yeah, so we have 2 premier fundraisers each year. Our chili cook-off, which is always the first Saturday in March, which is our largest fundraiser. And we do an event called Dinnertainment, which is completely different from the chili cook-off, but just as much fun and maybe more in some ways. I think this is going to be our 8th event coming up this September. It's always been hosted at the Country Club of Birmingham, and really what the event is a night where our participants put on a dinner theater performance for an audience of like 400 people. And so our guys get to go on stage and sing and dance and perform. And, for a lot of these guys, it's really living out their dream. I mean, a lot of these guys have dreams of Hollywood and, just a real grandiose dreams. And it's, for that night, you've got the bright lights on you, and you're on stage and people are cheering for you.
Yeah.
And it's a fun night. It's always themed. So we've done a tribute to the 70s and 80s. We've done a Grand Ole Opry event. We did last year's was Broadway, and this year's will be Vegas. So it's kind of cool to work within the parameters of a theme and just kind of what our guys are interested in. And there have been there's a tear-jerking moment every single year. And then there's moments where you're just falling on the floor because these guys are just hamming it up and just going wild on stage. And it's one of those nights that we all look forward to a great deal.
So with that, you said only 400. How do you get access to this exclusive
I know.
entertainment?
Well, it's one thing we hate that it's so exclusive, that because we really don't even sell tickets to this event. Tickets are sold by table sponsorships, before we've never just like advertised tickets because we can't. They're gone, before we could even sell them. So we're looking at ways of growing it, and we actually in 2020 during the COVID pandemic we did a virtual event, which we had people watching in California and just all over the country, and that was a cool night where we. Some people got to see the event that ordinarily wouldn't have. And so I think going forward, we're going to find more ways, whether it's virtual or whatever it may be, to, this is an event that everyone deserves to see. And we're hopeful in the future we can find a way to kind of mainstream it to everyone.
Can the parents at least get like a recording of it?
Oh yeah, we always have parents there, and we typically record the event in some way. The 2020 event is on YouTube, so anybody is welcome to head over to our YouTube channel and check out the event. It was It was really pretty seamless for never having done a production specifically geared to be filmed like that. It was really remarkable how seamless it worked out, and we're real proud of the product.
Nice. What about the chili cook-off? What does that look like when when it happens?
So it looks like the zombie apocalypse on Lakeshore Drive. It is one of the largest events in Birmingham. It might be the largest non-sporting event in Birmingham without a large music festival these days. I struggle to think of an event that attracts, upwards of 10,000 people that doesn't involve a football of some sort. It's always pretty obvious that there's a ton of people there.
Yeah.
But then when you see like the drone overhead picture and you see there are just cars parked all up and down Lakeshore Drive on the median and on the shoulder, and it just looks like something out of a disaster movie, but it's really the opposite. It's really just a great event that people want to come to, and no matter where we are, there's going to be more interested people than there are parking spaces, unfortunately. And yeah, we've we think there were probably about 10,000 people here last year. There were 135 teams cooking chili. We had 150 tents total. It's kind of, we like to think of it as the premier spring event, in Birmingham. It kind of kicks off the season. It's always the first Saturday in March. As long as the weather is our friend, and it has been the last few years, and knock on wood that it continues, we're going to have a great crowd, and it's family friendly. People, whether you're 5 or 85, you can come have fun at the chili cook-off, and it's just one of those special days. And we're definitely, efforting to remind people what it is about. We've learned over the years that some people just think it's a chili cook-off, and it has no kind of correlation to any kind of nonprofit or charity, but it does, and it was created by our junior board 18 years ago, and so we just, it's always on our minds to let people know that, if you're supporting the chili cook-off, you're supporting something greater than a bowl of chili.
So I have seen some pictures of it, and you're right. It's like there's tons of people everywhere. You said there was 150 booths, so that's 150 businesses that are involved. How do businesses get involved? How do they set up a table?
So we have multiple sponsorship levels, and we have development officers that this is an event we're working on throughout the year, and our development officers are contacting past teams to secure their spot for the next year, and we're always reaching out to new businesses and people that might be interested. And it's one of those events that more often than not, once a company or a team gets involved, you're in for the long haul. Very rarely do we have anyone that's one and done, because it's just one of those events. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
We have people that come and they're like smoking brisket starting at like 11 p.m. and they're out there for they don't even sleep. They're out there just like prepping their chili like all
That's
overnight.
That's got to be so fun. Just like, yeah, man, we're about to serve 10,000 people some chili.
Oh yeah. It's people get really, really competitive, especially the people that have been doing it for a number of years. People want to win. They want that trophy. They want the bragging rights.
Yes.
We have a completely blind judging process where we have typically about 40 to 50 community leaders, local celebrities, and we have a pretty rigorous blind judging process. So whoever wins is well deserving, but we also have our participants vote on their favorite chili. We do some spirit awards for people, who are really just kind of having the most fun out there. And, it's not a one prize take all kind of thing. We kind of, we have little roles for each winner.
Are there other ways that you get your participants involved in the chili cook-off?
This past year, we had a couple of our participants perform with the bands on stage, which is something that we kind of took a page out of our entertainment book. And it was kind of, only, very limited amount of people get to see entertainment. Let's maybe bring a little bit of entertainment to chili cook-off and let these guys get on stage and kind of show off their chops. And, our participants are always walking around and trying chili and hanging out in our judges area and, kicking it with our judges. We've always got some sports or, local celebrities in there that are pretty attractive, for, just whether it's someone you grew up watching on the news or, someone you've idolized in Alabama or Auburn, those kind of things. So we try to make sure that our guys are seen and recognized as much as possible at these events.
Nice. Man, I hate that I missed it. I love chili.
Hey, I promise you, we will be back next year. This is
Man,
this is the chili cook-off is responsible for close to a quarter of our annual budget. So
oh,
we're really reliant on that event for the programs that we provide throughout the year.
yeah. Are there any stories that during your time, you said you've worked there for over a decade?
Hmm.
Are there any stories that have stuck with you during that time?
Oh my man, yeah, there are so many stories. We have a girl who had a brain aneurysm when she was in high school. She was neurotypical and was going to school with her
What does that
peers.
mean?
Neurotypical just means basically me or you.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
no diagnosis or intellectual disability of any sort.
Gotcha.
And this girl had an aneurysm, and she basically had to relearn how to sit up and walk and talk and chew, and it was real interesting. Her parents were saying that the last bit of language that came back to her were nouns, and they had to put sticky notes on like every object in their house to kind of re-teach her what these objects were. And so she went through a tremendous, tremendous journey just to get back to where, she could have, any semblance of the life she had had before. But, after that, she was obviously intellectually disabled and came to be a part of our program. And one year at entertainment, the theme was films. So we were paying tribute to some of the great all-time movies, Singing in the Rain and
Yeah.
Casablanca and all those. And
That's a
this
great
girl,
movie.
this girl Devin, got up and sang "Somewhere Over the Rainbow" off Wizard of Oz. And man, there wasn't a dry eye in the house.
Yeah.
And that was one of those moments of just seeing her and just kind of reminding yourself of all the things that she had to overcome, and to be in front of that group of people. And there's obviously some big people in that audience,
Yeah.
and to stand in front of those people with those bright lights and bring the house down like she did was one of those cool moments. But there's funny stuff too. One of my favorite funny stories is one of our guys, Greg. We were sitting there in the afternoon. Day was kind of winding down. We were just sitting around shooting hoops, talking and stuff, and Greg looked over to me and he said, "Robbie, I cannot find love." And I said, "Oh, buddy, I know you don't have a girlfriend. I know it's real important to you, and you know what, man? We've got a lot of eligible ladies here, and I'm gonna do what I can to help you find you a girlfriend." And Greg kind of looked at me and he said, "No, I cannot find love." And he held up his word search. And I said, "Oh." I can definitely help you with that. So I took the word search and I found love and circled it for him and handed it back to him. But I was envisioning like a much greater problem than what it really was.
Yeah.
I mean, truthfully, things like that happen every single day. There ain't a day goes by that we don't laugh and just. But there's also always those moments where we're reminded why we do this and how important it is. And seeing, like a kid in our youth or our young adult basketball league score their very first points in a game, and
Yeah.
just taking a moment to look over and see their parents' faces, and just, oftentimes there's tears involved, and we get to see a lot of firsts. We get to see people go to their first prom. We get to see people score their first basket. We get to see people go to the movies without their mom and dad for the first time. We get to see a lot of kind of milestone events that for some people is not a big deal, but for our population it is a big deal. And those kind of moments happen all the time, and no matter how long you've worked at the Exceptional Foundation, those moments never get old, and are just a constant reminder of why we do what we do.
Yeah. 100%. Absolutely. That stuff would stick with you. And anytime you're feeling down about yourself, you can just remember like, hey, I was there for somebody.
Yeah, and that's how I got started. I was a volunteer for several years, and that was kind of my thing. If I was ever having a bad day or was stressed about something, I knew where to go. I went to the Exceptional Foundation. Just the second you walk in that door, there's going to be somebody to greet you, and whether they know you or don't, and to make you feel special and loved. And it's one of those places that, yeah, if you need to pick me up, that's the spot.
So what are some ways, you said you got started volunteering, what are some ways that the community can get involved with the Exceptional Foundation and support you guys?
Yeah, so we have individual and corporate volunteer opportunities. So whether, people, if you need to get hours for a class in college, or if you just want to, find a way to get involved with your community, or whether that be on an individual level or your company, we have ample opportunities. I handle all of our volunteer opportunities, and our main objective, again, is like, for our volunteers, we want you to enjoy it. We want you to have fun. It's funny when people come in and, especially for like a corporate volunteer, like a group from Regions or PNC Bank or something, we come in and they're like, "Oh, we're playing kickball?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude. Like, you thought, you had played your last game of kickball 20 years ago in gym class. Well, here we are, So it's cool to see people come in and kind of, they get to be kids again, and get to do games and activities they might not have done in a long time. And it's, so we have volunteers of all ages and all backgrounds. And yeah, the best way to get involved is just look us up. Our website is exceptionalfoundation.org. Pretty easy to navigate, to figure out how to reach out. But, just contact me, give us a call, shoot me an email. I'm happy to do orientations with people pretty much any time as long as I'm free. And once you've had an orientation, you're good to go, and we can start having fun.
Yeah. What drove you to start volunteering?
So I was at UAB in grad school, and I was in an Intro to Exceptional Learners class, and I needed to get 20 hours. And they gave me a list of places I can volunteer, and I'm from Homewood, and I saw Exceptional Foundation on there, and I remembered playing softball with those guys like when I was real little. I grew up by the ballpark, and I remember when I was 6 years old, riding my bike and seeing this group and being kind of curious about what they were doing, and eventually one day got out there on the field and played with them and just loved it. And when I saw the Exceptional Foundation on that list, I was like, that's what I got to do. That's the same crew I was playing softball with, all these years ago. And came in one day, and man, I never left. That was 17 years ago. Yeah.
So you volunteered for 5 years?
Yeah, and I volunteered, worked summer. We hire extra staff during the summer. We serve adult participants all day long, year round. During the summertime, we have a full summer camp for school-age children. So our enrollment doubles basically during the summer. So we typically hire 12 to 20 summer staff. So I worked a summer, and I was just one of those volunteers that, I was there every week, way beyond my 20 hours I had to get for class. I was coming to referee basketball games and umpire softball games, and I was working in the school system, and they gave me a call and said, "Hey, our athletic director recently left. Are you interested in the position?" And it was just like, duh, like, yeah. And so I was our athletic director for about 9 years, and been in the administrative office since that time. But any opportunity I have to interact with our participants, that's what I want to do.
Yeah. So you studied for this in college?
Yes, I was. I got a master's in secondary education, not special education, but just social studies.
What is secondary education?
Middle school, high school.
Okay, gotcha. And so you studied in sort of trying to get education and teaching?
Yeah, my objective at that point was I was going to be a history teacher, and that was kind of the path I was on. And I kind of started having second thoughts once I'd really gotten involved with the Exceptional Foundation of, maybe I want to do special education instead of history. But I guess I was probably too far along at that point. And but yeah, it's just wild how it all worked out. The Exceptional Foundation's been just such a big part of my life. I met my wife at the Exceptional Foundation. I proposed to her at the Exceptional Foundation. She is a special education teacher. It's just kind of, this is like my life now.
Yeah.
And it's just it's really wild that just a little 20-hour requirement for volunteer work kind of turned into this just like whole new career and life path for me.
What made you want to get into teaching? Like, when did you know that you wanted to be a teacher?
It was a while. I was the kind of guy in college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just ended up majoring in history and minoring in English because I liked to read, and I liked to, history.
These
really.
subjects are interesting.
Yeah,
Let's
these
go.
were the subjects I'm most interested in, so I'm going to go that way. And then I was like, well, gosh, what am I going to do with a history degree? And figured I always really enjoyed school, despite all the trouble I got in. My teachers probably wouldn't have guessed how much I liked it, but it was always just a real kind of social thing for me, just being amongst your peers. And I always really enjoyed school. And the more I got to thinking about it, the more I was like, yeah, I think I'd like to go back there. I think I was hyper aware of what was successful and what wasn't from a teacher's point of view. And I thought that, I could get in there and, change lives and kind of do things, from a, with this perspective of a student, but from a teacher's, authority, and just really, get people interested in history and maybe do a little coaching. But like I said, the Exceptional Foundation had other plans.
I think you got luckier than I did. Anytime I feel like, yeah, I know what the problem is, I know how to fix this. I'm not as lucky as you are, where it works out all the time.
Yeah, I think I'd be real happy if I was in a classroom today teaching and doing that, but I know I'm a lot happier now, just the way everything's turned out. It's just really been miraculous.
With you said that you did the athletics side and now you're the public relations manager. How do those two jobs, they seem vastly different for me. How did you make that transition into a public relations manager, and what kind of made you want to jump into that area?
Well, I was just always interested in any capacity in which I could help the Exceptional Foundation. That I wanted to do that, and I think I was given an opportunity for a promotion, and there was just there was no way I was going to turn down a little more money and a little more responsibility, and I really think my teaching background kind of prepared me for PR, because I do a lot of speaking engagements and things of that nature, and I think getting up and speaking in front of 25 16-year-olds kind of made getting up speaking in front of large crowds a little less scary. I know public speaking is a lot of people's kind of greatest fear, and just I really think that teaching kind of prepared me for that, because it's like stand-up comedy in a way. You're kind of getting in front of this group of rough, unforgiving kids, and you gotta kind of command the room. And so I think that kind of prepared me for just being able to speak in front of people and kind of do that kind of stuff. But as long as I had a way that I knew I was going to be useful, and as long as I knew I wasn't going to be completely taken away from floor activities and just the kind of the day-to-day stuff that our participants are doing. Like, I'm still really involved in our athletics. I still referee every basketball game. I'm present for pretty much every softball, volleyball game. It was kind of understood when I was given more responsibility. Like, it's never a mystery to my bosses what I really love doing. And what I really love doing is just hanging out with our guys and doing things with them, and getting to do a lot of the stuff that I used to get to do, but I get to do kind of things on my own terms a little more now.
Yeah. What you were saying about teaching and public speaking, I think that stuff is so important to a person's development, because one of the best ways to learn is to teach, right? Like, while you have to take in and understand the material enough to be able to convey it to somebody else, and being able to stand in front of a group of people and present your ideas, that is such a valuable skill, and it looks like it's paid off for you.
Yeah, and a lot, again, especially with a lot of our youth sport leagues, we're doing a lot of teaching. We do a sports camp where each week we do a different sport. We're a lot of these guys have maybe never played tennis or held a golf club or done some of these things, and so we're not an educational institution, but we do a lot of teaching, quite frankly, of just kind of whether it be social skills or soft life skills, or it be how to play this or that sport. And I think my background in secondary education really kind of helped me out a lot. And again, I think my wife's helped me out a lot. She's real knowledgeable when it comes to those kind of things, and I've certainly learned a lot from her, and we kind of complement each other well.
What is your favorite sport?
I think the greatest sport ever invented is baseball. I've really come to love volleyball. I'll be honest. It was I never knew anything about volleyball till I came to the Exceptional Foundation. I mean, it was so far off my radar, but it's really fun, and it's a little. Basketball games can be really intense. I think I've shaved a few years off my life coaching some of these games. I get really, really into it. I'm very passionate, maybe too passionate sometimes. And volleyball's a little more it's slightly less fast paced. So I enjoy that I'm not having to. When I coach basketball, I'm coaching every second. I'm constantly reminding people of where to be and what to do. So if we're in a tournament, by the time it's over, I mean, I'm spent. I don't have a voice left. I've been pacing the sidelines like a madman. Volleyball's a little more leisurely, so I've grown to really enjoy that aspect. And not to say volleyball's some leisure sport like fishing or something like that, but it's just a little less intense. And also our guys really enjoy it. I love coaching volleyball, but I have to be honest. I think most of my fondest memories of coaching at the Exceptional Foundation were from basketball, for sure.
Gotcha. Do you guys do baseball?
We play softball, yes.
Okay.
So we're in the middle of our softball season right now, and again, softball a lot more leisurely than basketball. So we do that right after we finish our basketball league. And our basketball seasons are always intense. Our coaches, our volunteer coaches, most of whom have been doing this for a long time, they're super competitive. It runs into our participants, and so once we get to softball season, I'm ready for just a little leisurely ball. And it's not just up and down the court at a breakneck pace, and people are hollering and screaming and fouls and all this kind of stuff. So I always welcome softball season with open arms, because it's kind of a time for we can all breathe and enjoy just the sport.
Take a step back, relax.
Basketball, football is king in the South. Basketball is king at the Exceptional Foundation. That is the number one sport with our guys, and sometimes it gets really intense.
To me, football, I don't know a lot about sports, but to me, football, it seems more like chess, where it's like, hey, you're having to anticipate what they're going to do. There's a lot of moving pieces here, and you got to execute that strategy, and hopefully you anticipated them. Yeah. Right? But basketball, that is just like a game of just constant movement and momentum. You don't get a break in basketball.
Yeah, and there are some, we've encountered some Special Olympic teams over the years that they're running plays, and they're really advanced, and we've just never really gotten to a point where we can be that. So it is, like I said, it is just nonstop coaching. It's just it'll gray your hair quickly. But again, it's one of those things where a lot of the times, especially I think in the South, we get so tied up in winning and losing, and with Alabama and Auburn and all this stuff. I think a lot of times when you come to Special Olympics and the sports we play, it kind of puts everything back in perspective, and it reminds you why sports are important, the lessons you can learn from them, and that winning and losing isn't everything. That it's for fun, it's for exercise, it's for camaraderie, and I think we are reminded of those lessons more often than maybe some people in like the professional realm.
I gotcha. The theme of our season is how to be a good neighbor. So what are some ways that the people of Homewood, people anywhere, can be a good neighbor?
Oh, wow. I think it starts with getting to know your neighbor and introducing yourself and asking questions, and being a good listener, being curious. I think we all can get in just kind of real hyper focused into what's going on in our lives and what might be in our lane, and sometimes you might not know what your neighbor's going through, or something your neighbor's experienced, and the only way you will know is if you're curious and if you ask. And I think that those two things go a long way: curiosity and just initiating a line of communication, and being receptive and being empathetic. I think empathy is I think everyone needs a little empathy in their lives, and the more I think we try to understand our neighbors and to kind of meet them where they are, I think we'll all be better for it.
Yeah. Excellent. What is something that you think the city of Homewood should focus on next?
I am from Homewood. I live in Homewood. I work in Homewood. Homewood is a really, really special place, and I think anyone that's lived here for any length of time will tell you that. Before I say what they should do better, I'll say what they do great is they support places like the Exceptional Foundation, and they support places like the Bell Center, who are our neighbors who serve children 0 to 3. So you look at just right here in Homewood, you have a lifetime of care for the intellectually disabled population between us and the Bell Center, and I think that's really special. And I've said this many times, but I don't think it's a coincidence that the Exceptional Foundation started in Homewood. I think that it was very purposeful, and I think we had a lot of community leaders then and now that see the big picture and see a calling that's bigger than themselves, and that people who are different from us deserve the same things that we deserve. I think Homewood really just keep supporting everyone, whether it be our neighbors in Rosedale, whether it be our neighbors on Valley Avenue or our neighbors in Hollywood. This is a really, really diverse community, and I think we need to keep it that way. Now, maybe that's what I'll say, is that Homewood is such a special, diverse place, and I would hate for us to ever lose sight of that. I think Homewood's diversity is really what makes Homewood great. And I would just hate for us to ever get into a point where we're just a bunch of high-rise, condos and pricing people out and those kind of things. So I think as long as we stay grounded and we care about the person living in an apartment as every bit as much as we care about the person living in a 5-bedroom house, I think we'll keep being the great Homewood that I've always known and loved.
All right. Well, that's a great answer. Is there anything that you wanted to close out with?
All of us at the Exceptional Foundation are extremely grateful, not only for our supporters in Homewood, but our supporters all over this community and the state, for that matter. And if you've ever heard our name and wondered who we are and what we're doing, give us a call. Stop by. Whether you're in Birmingham or Auburn or down by the Gulf Coast, really life-changing things happen at the Exceptional Foundation every day. I think for anyone, when you get to be a part of that, it really makes your life more fulfilling. And any way that, whether you want to give us money or your time, we don't care. We just want to...
that all goes into the mission.
Yeah, we just want to be... We are very proud to be a part of this community and of this community. And so if you've ever just considered for a split second just coming to that volleyball game, or hey, what are those guys doing over on that field at West Homewood Ballpark? Man, come over and watch us. Come experience it. All
right. Thank you, Robbie, for coming onto the show. Thank you for sharing all of this information about the Exceptional Foundation with us and about how you got involved with it, about your personal story.
Well, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for listening to the Your City podcast. And if you enjoyed our talk today with Robbie, you can show your support by following the Your City podcast on Facebook to stay up to date with us. And you can also find our episodes on Spotify, YouTube, Odyssey, or your preferred podcasting app. Feel encouraged to leave us a review so that we know how you like the show and so that more people will be able to discover it. Thank you again for listening, and we will catch you on the next one.